Well, it's that time of year again. We've got less than 3 weeks until the St. Louis Blues start their regular season. So it's time for us to give our bold predictions for the 2025-26 season. Will any Blues players win a major award? Will any players have career years? Will the Blues make a playoff run? Let's go ahead and get bold with our predictions. All that and more today on Note News. Welcome into another episode of Note News. We're a St. Louis Blues podcast, and we go live twice a week. And we are ramping up to the regular season. The St. Louis Blues have started playing preseason games. Super exciting to be able to say that. Hockey is back, and the season starts in just under 3 weeks on October 9th. So we are really excited for the season to get started here on Note News. It's been a long and arduous off season, but we've tried to get through it with some fun content. So if you've missed any of it and want to get ready for the upcoming season, go check out some of our recent episodes as we've begun previewing the season. And that will continue today as we give some of our predictions. We're going to get bold at the top, give our bold predictions. It's the most wonderful time of the year when everyone's doing bold predictions. So it's always a fun conversation. We'll also go on to discuss some of our predictions for the NHL as a whole, including like the major awards and the Stanley Cup finals. So we're going to really get into that today. I should say at the top, a couple quick notes. We want to hear your predictions as well. So as we get going, drop them in the chat and we'll do our best to discuss them throughout. I'll mention a couple reminders as we move through the episode as well for people to send their bold predictions as we get some viewers coming in and out. And then also, as I mentioned, Blues have started playing preseason games. We're not going to talk as much about that today. We're going to do a full episode devoted to reacting to the start of the preseason for the Blues. I think that'll be our next episode. So they're playing another one this evening, and we are going to talk about both games coming up pretty soon. But the Blues unfortunately lost their first preseason game to the Dallas Stars 2-1 in the shootout. Justin Carbonneau scored his first goal in a Blues uniform, so that's pretty cool. And the goalies were pretty excellent. I think those are the highlights and quick hits, but we'll really get into that conversation a little bit later on. Alec, how are you doing? Less than 3 weeks to go. Hockey is being played again. How are you feeling about giving some predictions today?
I'm feeling great about some of these bold predictions. It's always a fun episode of the year. And hockey's back. We're finally back. I can't believe that it took, the arduous off season that it was, but we made it. And I'm so excited to get back in the swing of things and get back up to speed with real games going on, and well, I guess fake games going on for now, but yeah, ready.
Yeah, there was a great post from the Blues social media admin yesterday. It was like, it's preseason, so if we lose, it doesn't count. But if we win, it means a lot, basically. So we are firmly in preseason territory if we start getting some takes like that. But yeah, it's starting to feel real. So let's go ahead and get into it, starting with bold predictions. And I want to start off by going over our predictions from last year, kind of seeing how well we did with our predictions last year. Do you want to go like one for one, or should I give all of mine or all of yours and we can kind of discuss?
Let's do one for one.
One for one. All right. So my first bold prediction from last year, I'll just give both of our first ones and we can sort of discuss. My first one was that Jake Neighbors would have an all-star first half. Keep in mind there was no all-star game last year because there was 4 nations, but I was sort of predicting, I guess, that he would be the standout player the first half for the Blues. And you predicted that there would be a top line shuffle, that maybe Buchnevich or Kyrou would be ousted from the first line. At least that's what my notes from last year say. Mine did not turn out to be so good on that one. But I think yours, there's a bit of a more interesting conversation to be had on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't a bad prediction per se, but the league kind of figured him out a little bit in his second year. So That's what we saw from Neighbors.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next predictions. I said Kairu would score 40 goals. You said that Texier would get extended. Those are our number two bold predictions. Kairu
Wow.
obviously did not score 40. Got to the upper 30s again with 36, but 40 continues to elude him. And Texier, the extension. What do you have to say for yourself?
uh, I was trying to get bold, I guess. I mean, I was, as people may know, I am sort of a Blue Jackets enjoyer. They're not my favorite non-Blues team, but they're up there. As I was in Columbus for a while, and I liked watching their games. Texas was a fan favorite for a reason, and you could see why all the skill was on display. I thought this was gonna be his breakout season, and the furthest thing from that happened.
Maybe this year. Maybe this year it'll happen again. Um, okay, next ones. I said Thomas would get 100 points, and you said that something about the rookies. I think what I have in my notes is that you sort of said that Matthew Kessel might impress the most and sort of become a mini or light version of Colton Parayko. Um, Now Robert Thomas still led the team in points, but only had 81. Obviously missed some time, only played 70 games. Um, there were some standout young players on the roster though, but yeah, I think 100 points is definitely in the cards for Thomas. I think that could be a prediction that we could make this year. I don't know if it's bold enough though, because I think we have started to see prime Robert Thomas, and it feels a little less bold to say. But yeah, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on Matthew Kessel and where he stands right now?
Yeah, I, um, I was off on this one. I think that's safe to say. I don't know. I thought he had a promising first season and that he could build off of it, and he just didn't build at all. Um, that was the issue with Kessel's season. He just didn't progress in the way that I was expecting and projecting. I kind of assumed that progression would come, and it never did. Um, so that's a miss for sure.
It's okay, buddy. Don't worry about it. Okay, my next prediction was that the Blues would improve to 98 points and make the playoffs. I gotta say, this was my best one. I missed on 98. I think I started at 95, and we decided that wasn't bold enough. Or I started maybe lower in the 90s, and we decided that wasn't bold enough, and I needed to bump it up, so I went up to 98. They ended with 96, and they did make the playoffs, obviously. So I think this was um, the only one I kind of got right, but I'm proud to say that I did well. And then you were sort of thinking that Snuggerud would come over to the Blues early and play close to half of the season and score like in the upper teens amount of goals, which didn't quite happen, but he still came over and impressed. So yeah, not a bad, not a big miss anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Snuggerud wanted to stay in Minnesota, and I said that there was a chance that wasn't going to happen. Didn't end up playing out, but I still hold true that that was a good bold prediction to make.
For sure. And then our last ones before we start to give our actual bold predictions for this year. I said that Bennington would win the Vesna. I think he still had a solid year, but obviously not a Vesna caliber year, or even a finalist caliber year like the season prior. You said that the Blues would be one of the better defensive teams this year, somewhere in the top 12, and that Radek Faxa might receive some down ballot Selkie votes. This one is like, I think you nailed it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I
Um,
was looking at the defense. Now, what I didn't expect was like Zach Bolduc to be like a plus 20 on the year and Dylan Holloway to break out as defensive stars. But just looking down across the wingers, I think I saw some steps to be coming from guys like Jordan Kyrou and Robert Thomas to lead the way defensively, as well as Pavel Buchnevich. So it didn't take the form that I expected it to, but proud to say I
yeah,
got one.
yeah, I think you nailed it. So those were last year's. Let's go ahead and get into this year's bold predictions. This is where the fun really starts.
Got some
So
fun ones in the chat already.
we do have some fun ones in the chat. I've got we just for so the viewers and listeners know, we have not revealed our bold predictions to each other, so we are reacting to each other's takes here on the episode. Um, I think we should just go back and forth and discuss. Do you want to go first, or shall I?
Um, doesn't really matter, I guess. I will start.
Hit it.
So, for my first bold prediction, I'm starting with a bold prediction list legend, as this is now year 2 of doing this, and this will be the second straight year that he makes it on the list. I'm going with Jake Neighbors. And I think Neighbors, as I said, the league kind of figured him out, but I think it's his time to take a step forward once again and hit a green light. I think Jake Neighbors can score over 30 goals this season. So last
Wow.
year had 22 in his rookie season, or his first full season, I should say, because I think he lost rookie eligibility as a 20-year-old. Um, in his first full season, scored 27 goals as kind of a surprise to the league. That fell down to 22, but more than doubled his assist totals at 24. This year, I have Jake Neighbors taking a big step forward. So 30 goals would put him somewhere in the 50 to 60 points range if he can get, a similar amount of assists next season. And I kind of expect that number to fall off maybe a little bit. Looking on that third line, I think Neighbors is going to be the consistent offensive threat playing with a guy like P.S. Suter. So I'm looking for Neighbors to take a big step forward. And I think that takes the form of 30 goals. I think he can do it as a 23-year-old, just finding the right amount of time or in the NHL and is getting all the ice time that he could need, playing almost 16 minutes a night. Um, I think Neighbors is a big part of this offense that they clearly love using. He plays Blues hockey, and yeah, I'm going with Neighbors for 30.
I like that one, and I think the reason that I could get on board with this one is that I think he'll sort of be the main goal scorer of the third line. I think that's probably where I see him at least starting the year and spending a decent amount of his time just with the talented wingers up and down the lineup. Not that he's necessarily a bottom sixer for his career, but that there's just a plethora of solid wingers right now on the Blues. So I think that third line is poised to be pretty good offensively, and I think Neighbors could be a big part of that. And that's sort of the landscape of the modern NHL, is that those third lines need to be able to score and hold their own offensively. So I think it'll be nice to see what the Blues can put together down there. And I think a big part of that is definitely Jake Neighbors. And how old will he be this year? Did you say
23.
23? I mean, that's how old Dylan Holloway was last year, right? And he sort of came alive and was able to put up, um, gosh, what did he finish with? 26 goals. So yeah, I like it. 30 goals for Neighbors. It feels just bold enough, but not necessarily impossible. So that one's awesome. I love it. Um, I'm gonna start with Pia Suter for my bold take. So this was the one of the guys that I was hoping the Blues would go after this offseason as one of my more realistic UFA targets. Really happy with the contract they signed him to, so I figured I should double down on my pro Pius Suter-ness and make a bold prediction. So last year he had 25 goals and 21 assists, so a total of 46 points. Um, I am predicting that he will repeat with the goal total with at least 25, but he will tack on 35 or at least 35 assists for a total of 60 points. So if Jake Neighbors can score 30 and Suter is centering that third line, then maybe our bold predictions could be co-realized or something. So
Yeah.
that's mine. So I'm predicting a 60-point season, mostly coming from assists for P.S. Suter, with 35 plus assists and 25 ish goals.
Wow. If Piet Suter is a 60-point player, I mean, this team is absolutely cooking with gas. That would be a career high in points for him, and
Mm-hmm.
would really set him up for potentially an extension in St. Louis. If he's a consistent 60-point player, then he's pushing Braden Shen for the second line spot. And hey, get him on a line with Holloway and Kyrou if that's how it ends up playing out. And then you could really see that assist total jump up too. So
Hmm.
it's bold for sure. But I like that Pia Suter's your guy, and I'm I'm hopeful. I don't know that I this isn't a prediction I would make per se. But if he can be a 60-point player, I'm absolutely in on bumping him up to the second line, and then even talking about some beyond just the 2 years of playing in St. Louis. If he can be a consistent, solid second
Hmm.
line center, a lot of S's there. Um, then
Pursuit.
that can be a really huge get for the St. Louis Blues on in the free agent market.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what's up
It's the
next?
right time in his aging curve too, I should
Yeah,
say.
for sure. Yeah,
All
he's
right.
gonna be. This is his age, what, 29 season?
Yeah. It's the right time for a big year.
Hmm.
So, next up, I'm going to I'm going to jump back to the defense a little bit. I think there's a lot of fun you could do with this defense. I think there's arguably almost every player could have a bold prediction made about them. And I'm looking at who's someone becoming of like I find myself defending him now more than I expected to be. But Logan Mayu, I think Mayu is a really talented young player. I think that the fact that he was identified by such a good draft and develop staff that they thought that this could be the guy um, to take over on the defense beyond Justin Falk, and if we've seen more hockey from Torrey Krug, although that seems unlikely at this point, um, Mayu can be the successor. And I'm having him take a big step in his rookie year as he's learned everything he can in the AHL. I'm foreseeing a 50-point season for Logan Mayu. I think, we look at a comparison last year. Lane Hudson, who ended up winning the Calder, had 66 points in 82 games. I don't know if Mayu will get all 82 games, and I don't know if 66 points is obviously Calder winning talent, and is just like absurd levels for any defenseman, including a rookie. But I think Mayu's just a step behind that, and I think he could get upwards of 50 points with probably like close to, if not 20 goals as a goal scoring defenseman. I think I see the playing time there for him, and I see under a Jim Montgomery coached hockey team that loves to use their defensemen actively. Give me Logan Mayu stock, and I'm predicting 50 points for the young skater.
50 points for Logan Mayu. I like it. You think that comes? I mean, could you elaborate? Maybe like, do you think it comes mostly in goal scoring or in playmaking? In playmaking, excuse me. Like, how
I
are you
mean, I think
seeing that happen?
I, I see around 20 goals for him. So, the rest would come through assists just as the nature of being a defenseman. But I still think if you can get 20 goals, that's a incredible, incredible mark to
Hmm.
hit. And or at least close to it. So it'll mostly be from getting assists because he is a defenseman. But I think he can score in the range of 15 to 20 goals and get the assist to match.
Nice, nice. I like it. Yeah, I mean, I really like what you said about him and how he plays, how he could potentially play in a Montgomery system. Who really likes to let the defensemen do what they can do offensively. We really saw that with the top pair, especially last year. So I like it, and I think that could just like we talked a lot about how this most recent season and some of the moves that the Blues made last off season sort of accelerated the retool timeline by like a year, maybe two. Um, and I think if Mayu can be a legit offensive threat without being, too much of a defensive liability, like that could just accelerate them another year on his own. Like that would be fantastic. Um,
And hey, shout out Rob in the chat. One game, one assist already. for
That's right.
Mayu.
That's right. He had a nice pass to. I guess it wasn't really like a slap shot or anything, but he seemed to be seeing the ice pretty well last night. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and give my Mayu prediction then. I don't think there's a better time to do it. Um, I am projecting. So I know we've been talking about Snuggerud winning the Calder, and he's sort of he has he's a great pick. Like the odds are great for him to be a great pick. He's up against like Ivan Demidov, Zeev Buyam, Alexander Nikishin. Those are some of the big names in the race. And we've sort of been talking about how we think Snuggerud will win it. My bold prediction for Logan Mayu is not that he will win it, but that he will be a finalist for the Calder. So I think he comes alive, and just like Doug Armstrong has said and Jim Montgomery has said over the summer, this guy is ready for the NHL. He has done all he can at other levels and is ready to make the jump. I'm saying he settles in really nicely and is one of the best rookies this year, and he'll be a finalist.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, if he can get to 50 points, I think
Yeah,
that's another sort of corroboration between our two
yeah.
bold predictions here. But Mayu's a sleeper for sure. I don't even know that he's listed on the betting odds. I doubt it, but he has barely, played any competitive hockey. Well, I shouldn't say competitive hockey, but you get what I mean in the
Mm-hmm.
NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and Mayu is a guy who just has all the tools to be an instant, immediate offensive impact to where that typically takes time to develop, especially like the defensive side of the game is typically a lot easier for defensemen to pick up and learn just to get your body in the right position, how to block shots. All of that is stuff that they've been doing for, their entire hockey careers, but playing offensively is what typically takes more time to learn and develop. But with Mayu, it's like he's already completed that trajectory of his development, or at least is kickstarted it. Maybe probably not completed, but he knows how to play offense and he knows how to get around skaters bigger than him, faster than him, stronger than him, etc. Um, and so yeah, I think it's all there for Mayu to go out and have a big season that could put him in my opinion. I don't know if this is just me being snuggered cloud brained. It probably is, but in my opinion, what's a relatively weaker Calder race, at least in terms of the top tier talent. It's pretty much just Demidov and nobody else. And every year there's like rookies who come out of nowhere and finish as finalists. So in that second tier, there isn't really as much competition to where I think it's a bold prediction for sure, but it's a great one.
Yeah, it sounds like we're both excited to see the Mayu project come to St. Louis.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will stick with some of the young guys here. My next
Hmm.
prediction is about playing time, about two very young forwards. But my bold prediction is that I think Justin Carbonneau will play more games than Dalibor Dvorsky. Dvorsky's the guy who's come up and sort of been the prince who is promised, and as a top 10 pick, flew up through the Blues system, getting to the AHL, and then cracking the NHL roster last season. The natural progression of things would be to assume that Dvorsky is the next guy up in line after Snuggerud, and that he'll get the injury replacement call ups, he'll get the playing time. But my bold prediction is that Justin Carbonneau actually outplays him and literally out physicals him for a spot on the roster. I think Carbonneau, the biggest thing about Carbonneau is that he plays blues hockey that you don't have to teach versus Dvorsky. You probably do have to coach up a little bit more physicality. He's got the headiness and he's got the IQ with the best of them, but he still is a little bit raw on the skating side and on some of the simpler statistic or simpler parts of his game that can be developed in the AHL. With Carbonneau, he's just young and hungry and ready for playing time. he already has dominated the queue and doesn't really have a lot left to prove at that level. So another year of playing in the QMJHL for Carbonneau, probably in a relatively lower level of competition as compared to like the AHL or the NCAA, and obviously as compared to the NHL, there's just not as much reason to leave Carbonneau in the queue versus Dvorsky can still learn some things, figure some stuff out. And furthermore, I think Carbonneau plays that identity hockey that they're looking for. And I think you could even see him slot in a place that would make more sense on the fourth line rather than Dvorsky sort of just being shoot in on the third line. I think the third line for Dvorsky isn't necessarily a complementary skill set. Now, Dvorsky will be great with whoever he plays with because he is a great player, but it would be kind of a mix and matchy hodgepodge kind of third line versus you give me Nathan Walker, Nick Bugstad, and Justin Carbonneau on the fourth line. They are going to smash you in the mouth. They are going to bully you and bring back that WTF identity that we saw from last year that Doug Armstrong has talked about as being so important to this hockey team, to this brand of hockey they want to play. I see Carbonneau as an extension of that. And for that reason, I think Carbonneau gets a chance to crack the NHL roster before Dvorsky. And once he gets his opportunity, he's not looking back. So I'm going with Carbonneau to play more games than Dalibor Dvorsky this season.
That's a great one. I think you're probably right on the money there. It seems like also just from a positional standpoint, like there's just and maybe maybe sorry, I'm just sort of collecting my thoughts here. It's something that we've talked about already with Dvorsky coming up. Maybe he plays on the wing to get his first extended look in the NHL before moving back over to center. But Carbonneau's obviously a natural winger. It feels like he's got the leg up on being a winger. He's got the leg up on fundamentals of his play that translate well to the NHL. He's physical. He's feisty. He's dynamic. He's a skiller as well, which we've been pretty pleased to see. So I love this pick, and I think you're right that Dvorsky is the guy that a lot of people jump to as the next up, but Carpo's making him making a case for himself. He's making himself heard, and I think there's an outside shot that we could even see him break camp. I'm not saying I think that'll happen. That's not one of my bold predictions, but I don't think it's a non-zero chance. Like I think the Blues will give him the opportunity to earn a spot. But yeah, this is a fun one, and I think when he does come up, like you said, he might not look back. He might be ready. So excited to see this kid, and I'm so pleased with getting him at 19. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I love it. Okay, my next bold prediction. This is my mystery player that I didn't tell you about beforehand. Um, all right, I'm gonna say that this year. Hold on, let me pull up his hockey reference page. I'm gonna say that this year, the Torpo meter, it's gonna crack 35 points this year.
Oof.
So Torpo, going season by season, 2 points, 19 points, 21 points, and then 18 points last year. He's kind of past 3 seasons been hanging around that upper teens, low 20s range in point total. I think we saw enough flashes of talent last year and his like Connor McDavid-ish tendencies. I think he's ready to take a step and maybe not be like a core guy for this team, but someone deserving of an extension. And I'm not saying that's part of my prediction. I just think he's got something to play for right now. He's got talent. He's just got to put a little bit of it together. Maybe he can elevate to the third line and sort of be playing with more of an offensively minded line, and it comes that way. But I'm not saying I think he'll like break 50 points or anything like that, or be one of the leading scorers for this team. But I'm saying He scores a few more goals than he did last year. He only scored 4 last year. He scored 14 and 10 the 2 years prior to that. I think we see something closer to that. And then I think we see him tack on more assists. He had 14 assists last year, which was a career high in that category. So I think he sort of retains his growth in assists. He returns to some better goal scoring and put that together with a better team. And I'm seeing 35 points. And I think the Torpo meter will be more exciting this year.
I love it. Raise the torpo meter, baby. It rhymes with
That's right.
Brug. Um, I am. I think this is a really fun one. This is a really fun pick. With Torpchenko, the question for him will be ice time. And if, like you said, if he can prove himself and maybe get elevated to that third line, like I said, if Carbonneau takes that fourth line spot, that leaves Torpchenko without a spot, and maybe he's going to have to fight. And he really is fighting for a future in St. Louis at this point. I believe he's a UFA after this season.
That's
Um,
right.
let's see, Torpchenko is a UFA after this season, yeah, and he's making $1.7 million. So um, I think he's really fighting for proof that he can be a consistent NHLer and not just hang around at that sort of quad A level. Scoring 4 goals last season is just uh, not gonna cut it for someone who's even playing on the fourth line. If you're really trying to win a Stanley Cup, which obviously the Blues at this point are. Um, and so he's going to have to score more. I think that's the biggest thing. But he's shown, like you said, he's shown flashes of that in the past, as he will sometimes just turn on this elite level of skill and blow through every single opposing skater, and in the most beautiful goal you've ever seen once every, I don't know, 40 games or something. If he can find that a little bit more consistently, if he can use his speed, I think is a big strength of his that he could really turn into a plus player. We know he's got the block shots. He's a pretty good player defensively. Um, then yeah, I love the prediction. I think it's a fun one to think about. And if Toropchenko, he is entering that aging curve too, where it's starting to be the right time for him to hit the go button as a 26-year-old skater.
Hmm.
So there is kind of a mini storm brewing under Toropchenko, and maybe it's all the right. I mean, like, of conditions for things to go right for him,
Right.
and maybe, especially with as the depth of this team is getting better and better, maybe Toropchenko is the standout player as someone who has familiarity with this Blues team and with this Blues system that can sort of take over and be a productive offensive force. I like it. I think it's a really fun one. I think you're getting really bold. I have to say, you're definitely beating me on the boldness meter today, but it is,
Torpo meter and the
uh,
Boldo meter.
yeah. Um, but I see the path for it to happen, and that makes it a good prediction.
Nice. Yeah, it would be super exciting if it happened.
So I'm jumping back to the defense here, and I actually think that this could also, maybe we're just so in sync with each other after a year of doing this that we don't even know it. I think this could also corroborate with your Torpchenko or your Pius Suter
Hmm.
prediction, in terms of how these guys are going to get assists. I have big years coming from the defense. I already said I think Logan Mayu could be a 15 to 20 goal guy, which would be a lot for a defenseman. My next bold prediction is that Colton Parayko is going to hit the 20 goal threshold and score 20 goals this season.
Nice.
And so if your offense isn't scoring goals, then your defense has to step up and do it. And someone's got to be registering assists on those points. So maybe guys like Toropchenko, Pia Suter, maybe they benefit from the defense playing in so tightly, and maybe they add to their points totals for as the goal scorers come from this reverse hockey defense. But with Colton Parayko, last season obviously had just a fantastic year. Only played 64 games, but put up 36 points and 16 goals in those 64 games. That is a 20 goal scoring pace. And the thing that I've talked about a lot on this podcast is that his goals weren't like fluky mid to long range shots that just found the back of the net. They were scored in tight on the net, on the goaltender, in ways that you would expect could be really repeatable. Last season, he shot at a 12.8% shooting percentage, which is pretty good. It was by far the best in his career, but that's not like a crazy high mark where you expect that to drop precipitously. And if he can put more pucks on net too, even if his shooting percentage does come down, if he can stay healthy for the full season, which he has done for the past 3 years, basically playing 80, 79, and 82 games before that. Um, if he can stay healthy, play north of 70 games, I think he could get 20 goals pretty. I don't want to say easily because that's a very, very high mark for a defenseman. But playing in a Jim Montgomery hockey system, showing off what he's already showed off, and playing for the with the chance to play for Team Canada too, I think Parayko's got all the motivation in the world that I have him scoring 20 goals this season and being a standout member of the defense.
Nice. I love that one. Yeah, I mean, I think it just brings us back to this idea of the Montgomery system, and how it can unlock offense in these defensemen. And so, I mean, we saw him come alive last year once Monty came over, and once Cam Fowler came over as well, and helped stabilize that top pair, so Colton Parayko didn't have to do everything. Um, and we saw 16 goals out of him last year, and it was a career year, and he only played 64 games, so he suffered from an injury, and I think this is a really fun one because if he can stay healthy, he was already playing at that pace before, so it's sort of bold in that it depends on a few big things, right? Staying healthy, keeping up that same pace, and the team continuing to be good around him, the system continuing to work around him. Um, I think what was so great about him last year was just, I think it was a volume thing, right? He was like 95th percentile in shots on goal from high danger. He was 76th percentile in shots on goal from mid range, and 83rd percentile in shots on goal from long range. And in all locations was 86th percentile for defensemen. And so, and when it comes to goals scored, he was 99th percentile in high danger, 81st percentile in mid range, and 85th percentile from long range, scoring at 97th percentile from all locations. So just a really solid year when it comes to, um, you know, generating offense from Colton Parayko. So this is a really fun one, and I think um, it's definitely in there for him. He's just got to put it all together. It feels like. So I think if you can just do what he did last year, like the team around him hasn't changed that much, and I think their style of hockey, I think they're still settling into it in some ways, but I don't think that the league is just going to figure them out, like automatically. So I think this is a really fun one, and I could definitely see it. This is awesome. Um, okay, I'm gonna. So we got what? That was your second to last one. I have two more.
Yeah.
All right. So for my second to last one, I'll go ahead and go to Broberg, just because my last one is. I was gonna save Broberg for last, but my last one is more big picture, so I'll save that one for the end. And I should say, if anyone is watching live and they want to throw their bold predictions in the chat, once we wrap up ours, we'll go back through some of them and discuss. We've gotten some coming in already that have been fun to read. We promise we're not ignoring you. We will talk about them in just a minute. Okay, so for Broberg, um, now anyone who's watching knows I love Broberg and knows about Broberg theory, and we extend our streak of talking about how much we love Broberg now. Um, he's great at team
I'm
offense.
impressed, John. 39 minutes before you were able to mention Broberg's name.
I've been like
Chomping at the
I've been
bit.
waiting. Yeah, I've been waiting. Um, so he excels at team first offense. Sort of been talking for a while about maybe this is the year he can put it together when it comes to individual offense. That's what my prediction is related to. So last year he scored 8 goals, 21 assists for a total of 29 points. This year I am predicting that he will score 15 goals and 50 points. I think he'll be the Blues. Did we talk about this? When was the last time they had a 50-point player? It was Justin Falk, like a few years ago, right? Um, I think I have that right. Whenever his good year was, in recent years, it's escaping me right now. But I think Broberg actually becomes their first 50-point defenseman since then, um, and um, I think he starts getting not only like more confident in himself when it comes to generating some offense, but I think he sort of earns some more trust when it comes to like handling some offensive responsibility. Maybe he gets some looks on the power play or something. I mean, he's more of a defense first guy, and I think that's his game, that's his bag, and he shouldn't focus too much on offense and to um, sacrifice the defense that he does so well at. But I think he gets his legs under him a little bit and has a better year. I thought about Matt in the chat said not bold enough. I thought about doing more, but I don't know. I feel like 50 is pretty bold for second full year for Broberg.
I feel like it works.
What do you think of
Yeah.
that one?
Going up from 21 points to 50 would be more than doubling his career total, or his,
Yeah.
not his career total, his uh, season total, or 29 points, excuse me. So I
Mm-hmm.
guess not quite more than doubling, but almost doubling his points total from last season. And scoring 15 goals, that's the part where I don't know if it's going to be there for Broberg. He's just such a defensive player. He really plays far back in the zone. He's usually the guy letting Falk or whoever his partner is play the more offensive style. So I don't know that I see the goal scoring for Broberg, but I mean, it is a bold prediction. But I do see the points total absolutely going up towards 40, maybe even 50 points just because of his assist numbers. I think those are going to be really excellent. I think he's a guy who sees the ice so well and knows where to put the puck in the right place, especially in transition, which makes which is where I would go in terms of a Broberg points total um, prediction is that I think a lot of his production is going to come off of assists just because of rush chances that he's going to create himself. He is so good at playing in transition, getting the puck out and getting potentially odd man breaks going the other way. Where the Blues are so good at doing that, are so good at being a rush offense with so many speed options that they really are a speed and rush offense a lot of the time. And Broberg's a big part of that. And in that sense, I could see a lot of offensive production coming his way just based off of rush chances. Now, that could go the other way in that there's going to be one too many passes on the rush um, for him to receive that point accreditation. But I think I do believe in Broberg theory. I think he's got a little bit unlucky with this point total last season. I think it's going to jump up, and if you project another year of development on top of the point production that he could already have, he could easily be a 50-point defenseman, which would be a big step up. But I love it. I'm big on this year's defense, and Broberg's a big part of that. So yeah, I think you're spot on.
Nice. All right. What's your final bold prediction?
My final bold prediction is a also kind of big picture.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe not as big picture, but it involves Doug Armstrong. And my bold
Hmm.
prediction about Doug Armstrong is that in his final year as a general manager, he's going to do everything in his power to win this team a Stanley Cup. And Doug Armstrong will be making a big splash at the trade deadline. I think the
Mm,
Blues had a relatively quiet offseason. I think most teams had a relatively quiet offseason, which means that I think that things are gearing up for a big trade deadline. Doug Armstrong is going to be very, very aggressive in acquiring. And I think this is finally when we get that star or superstar level player at the trade deadline, giving up pieces going the other way. But I think Doug Armstrong is, if not getting that star, then getting several like old fashioned hockey trades going both ways to upgrade this team. I think he's going to be very aggressive. The Blues are entering that window when it's time to be aggressive, to get aggressive. Jim Montgomery should have this team humming enough to where that they can firmly be in the playoff race to firmly be buyers. And I think there's enough of a seller's market with teams like Calgary, Seattle, Chicago, who are all in Pittsburgh, who are all going to be selling. And I think that there's going to be enough of a market to find players out there. So Doug Armstrong can get his guy. As well as whatever's going on in the Eastern Conference, I think there's plenty of options out there. Doug Armstrong is going to get his guy, and I think he's going to make a big splash at the trade deadline.
that's a lot of fun. That's a lot of fun, and I think it might be your boldest yet. Um, Maybe even in both years, to be honest. So I love it. We're getting bold. Gosh, that would be so fun to see. And I just, if it is like the time for the Blues to get that star piece, I think they are set up so perfectly well to receive that piece. Like they've got the fundamentals down, they've got the depth down. They don't need to be one of those teams that relies solely on a couple star players or anything like that. I think they can really be a team where the supporting cast is even more valuable than a star player. So like they are already a really solid team, obviously a playoff team, and um, I think we are pretty high on them, but we see big things for them, and I think the narrative around the Blues, um, in a general sense, from sort of like a more, I don't know, national perspective, or those who aren't focused solely on the Blues. I think the narrative is starting to change, whereas before people didn't really believe in the win streak or in what the Blues had cooking before last year, which I'm not saying is an unfair take or anything, but I think the narrative is starting to change and people are coming around to this is a team that is headed in the right direction, and not just one that is sort of in this rebuild, retool phase, but is turning the corner, and is has a solid enough prospect system that they can try to push back into competing and contending again. So like I think we're not the only ones that see it. Um, and like I said, I think the rest of the team is just so solid that if they do add some difference making players, that could work wonders for this team. And I think if it's the right trade, obviously that would be something I'd be super excited to see. Um, I always want to be careful not to do like prospect hugging or anything like that. Um, it would suck. Like there's just so many players that I really like on this roster, that it would be really tough to part with some of them. We already got a taste of that with Zach Bolduc leaving, in exchange for Logan Mailloux. Um, so as tough as that would be, I think this team is ready for some of that, some more difference making players. So yeah, that would be so fun, and I think this is one where it would have to be Army and Steen working together, on something like
For
that.
sure.
I feel like Army would definitely need to get Steen's stamp of approval if it's a long term type of move. Which I know that that's not what you were saying necessarily, but I think there is the motivation there for Army to sort of go out with a bang, and I think this could be a really fun year to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, my final bold prediction is related to the Olympics. So the Winter Olympics coming up, next year, next February, and for the first time in a while, there will be NHL players, um, playing for their national teams again. Now, let me count this up real quick. I'm predicting that the Blues will have 8 players on Olympic teams.
Wow.
Now, some of them are it's okay. So I'll just work through some of the ones that are more straightforward. Okay, starting with Alexandre Texier, he's already been selected for Team France. Okay, there aren't that many. Is he the only French player in the entire NHL? I think he might be. I can't think of another. Uh, but each team has announced like 6, I believe, preliminary picks for their teams. And let me read off the teams that are actually playing real quick. There are 12, I believe. Okay, we've got Canada, Czech Republic, Switzerland, France. That's Group A. Group B is Finland, Sweden, Slovakia, Italy, and Group C is the U.S., Germany, Latvia, and Denmark. So those are the teams, and each of them have
Latvia.
yeah, yeah, each of them have announced 6 preliminary players. Texier was on France's preliminary picks, I believe. Okay, I'm also predicting Dvorsky makes Team Slovakia. I think that one is pretty straightforward. He's been a big part of their like junior national team, I guess. I think Pia Suter makes Team Switzerland. I think he's like their 2C or something like that. I think he's an obvious pick for them. So that's 3. I think Jordan Binnington makes Team Canada. He's still one of the best Canadian goalies. He's top 10, top maybe even top 5 in the NHL. I don't know. It depends on how high you are on Binner. I
Won the
think
Four Nations.
yeah, won the 4 Nations and looked the part while doing it. So I'm saying Binner goes back. I think after Pareko's career year, and it seems like we're both expecting big things for him, he makes Team Canada. So that's my 5th. I think that Robert Thomas cracks Team Canada. I think he will do it. I think that this is a big year for Tomer, and he makes it. This is one that I've predicted before. I think Dylan Holloway makes Team Canada.
Oof.
Um, he's gonna have to play out of his mind to do it. But he is like fully healthy again. He played last night and looked good. Like it's crazy how fast he's recovered. I think he's ready, and I think he'll have a big year. So that's 7, right?
That's 7.
All right. You know my number 8?
I have a guess. Is it another Canadian player?
No, it is not.
Okay. I'm interested to hear
Um,
this.
I'm predicting that Philip Broberg makes Team Sweden. That's like that might be my boldest take of the day. I'm pulling up some of the like other Swedish defensemen. Um, Anderson in Calgary, Broden in Minnesota, Dahlin in Buffalo, obviously, Ekholm, Forsling, Hedman, Carlson, Hampus Lindholm. Like these are some big names, big Swedish defenseman names. I'm not saying he'll be like a core contributor for them or even like a top 4 guy, but I think he is exciting and like his fundamentals are sound enough. I think pairing with my prediction that he comes out of the gate or has a great individual offensive year, I say he cracks it. So those are the 8 that I'm putting on Olympic rosters.
Wow. 8 Olympic skaters for the Blues would be quite the impressive feat. I want to note 4 of them are Canadian too. So you've got Binnington,
Yeah.
Holloway, Thomas, and um, Parayko,
Mhm.
all all making the Team Canada roster. That which is arguably the most competitive and
Yeah.
not NHL Olympic
In the world.
roster. Yeah. That's quite the take. It's bold for sure. Like I said, you've firmly beat me on the boldness meter for today. I don't know about this one. I'd love to spin it, and I think that there's a chance for probably 5 to 6 of those guys. 8 is a really large number, but I love that you're getting out there with your take. And I I do see playing time for a lot of these guys. I think you've identified well, the teams and players where it just makes the most sense for a guy, like Pia Suter. Um, if Dvorsky, who's been outstanding in international play before, if he can do it at the major league level now, at graduating from junior hockey.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's a big number. It would be super fun. One of those sort of sense of pride things, but um, I I don't know if I see this one happening, but I love the boldness.
Yeah, this sort of reminds me of Sandy over on Deal in the Cards making his like, I think it was
Yep,
2023 that he did it. And keep in mind, like fresh off of the hype of 2022, like one of the best years of Cardinals baseball that we've seen in a long time. Predicted like what was it, 9 Cardinals players making the All Star team or something. Like it was
it was a
or
lot.
7. It was an absurd amount. I think this I think this
I
is
think
less
this
of a
is
bold take
that.
than that, but it's
I
close. It's
think this is
close.
that.
I think it's pretty close. This one might come back to bite me, but I think there will be some surprises. Um, that's my yeah. That's probably my boldest take of the day. But I
For
started with
sure.
like I started with fewer than that, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I need to add in the obvious ones like Devo and Tex and Suter, which are not locks except for Tex, but are a little bit more straightforward. Okay, those are our bold predictions. Why don't we go through the chat and respond to some of the viewer predictions? We've got one
And
towards
put
the
them in the
beginning of the
chat
day.
if you haven't yet.
Yeah,
We're reading through these and we'll get to them all.
yeah, and we're running a little long here, so I don't think we'll have an extended discussion on all of these, but we'll definitely address each of them. So starting off with 100 plus points for Thomas and a Selkie. Um, I think 100 points. I see it happening. A Selkie Trophy win. That is the bolder part to me.
Agree.
I think it's doable, but as thrilled as I would be, there are some great defensive forwards out there.
Yeah, it almost feels like 100 points for Thomas is like the expectation, which has me a little bit nervous just
Yeah.
because that's a really high expectation to set and just like stuff can happen in sports. But for Thomas to win a Selkie, that'd be awesome. Unfortunately, the Selkie I think is more of a name brand vote
Mhm.
than anything. So I'd love to see it, but I don't think the voters will go his way.
Yeah. Maybe not. Rob said Kairu will hit 50 goals and 50 assists this year. That one's pretty bold. He also
That's
said, I'll
very
just go
cool.
ahead and get this one as well, that his boldest prediction is that Toropchenko will be traded this year. So um, I am saying that Torpo will hit 35. So I don't think that he'll be traded. I don't think he's out of the question though, since he's a pending UFA. 100 points for Kairu coming from 50 goals and 50 assists. Whew, getting bold, Rob.
Yeah. That'd be fun. I think
It
that's
would be
a bit
fun.
of a jump from like 37
Yeah,
and like
I
80
tried.
points, but
Yeah, I tried not to. I made bold predictions on Kairu and Thomas last year, so I tried to spread it around a little bit this time. Another one, Holloway will hit 35 goals this year. He scored 26 last year, but missed some time. Uh, if he's gonna make Team Canada, or yeah, make Team Canada, he might have to hit 35 before the break. So
35 before the break. That's quite the no,
I
but
kid,
I
I
actually
kid.
like this one. I think this one's
Yeah.
actually like a good bold prediction. If he has a step forward in his progression, then 35 goals I think is a good number to benchmark to set to see if he could do it. So
Hmm.
yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Matt in the chat said Broberg gets 60 points. So he out predicted me for the Broberg point total. I said 50. Matt said 60. You know what I think might be happening here is that the Note News community is just a positive feedback loop of Broberg hype, and we just keep like we just keep hyping each other up
Gassing
about
him up.
Broberg. I mean, if he can hit 50, he can hit 60. So why not? I love it.
Why not?
Why not?
I think that's
Rob
what we
also
got.
said Monty grows some hair, wins Coach of the
Yeah.
Year. I think
Yeah.
uh, I think
No
the hair
chance
growing
Monty
is
grows hair.
yeah,
Way
that's the
too
boldest
bold.
take of the day. Wins the Jack Adams. That would be really fun. And for what it's worth, this one This one's really fun because the Blues are poised to be one of those teams that come out of the gate hot, and or like some of the stuff we've talked about, like predicting where they'll finish in the Central or things like that. I think it would take a Coach of the Year performance from Montgomery. They are poised to be one of those teams like Washington or like Winnipeg last year that expectations are generally positive ish for them, but not like through the roof. And so if they can come out and really impress, this is one that I see, could definitely happen.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think, like you said, it's just set up really well to be a good year for Jim Montgomery and the boys. So I think
Yeah,
you put that right.
nice. Okay, if anyone has any more, drop them in the chat. Maybe we can get to them before we close out. Do we want to do NHL predictions still? Do you want to do them quickly?
Yeah, maybe no explanation, just run
Sure.
through them.
So last year, cup pick, I said Canes over Stars. I think you said Oilers over Rangers for one, and then you said, but I'm gonna make a fun one here, and you also said Penguins over over Predators, um, which
Woof.
aged like milk that was already sour. Um, so that was really fun. Um,
I got a more reasonable one this year.
Okay, good. I'm just gonna run through them all real quick, and then we can go back and give our predictions. Last year, heart pick, I said Jack Hughes. You gave a few, and I can't remember what your actual pick was. You said McDavid,
I think it
McCarr,
was it
Eichel,
was
and
either
Pedersen.
Eichel or McDavid.
Okay. Um, which it was Connor Hellebuck. But I think the names you mentioned were solid ones. Vesna, I had predicted boldly that Bennington would win it, and I stuck with that. You said Shesterkin would win the Vesna. Obviously, it was Connor Hellebuck. Norris, I said Cale Makar. You said Adam Fox. uh, Calder, I said Macklin Celebrini. You said Logan Stankoven. We got that one wrong. It was Lane Hudson, right? You won that
Yep.
one. I remember being like, ugh, Logan Stankoven. He's a Dallas Star, but now I'm like, nice, Logan Stankoven. He's a Carolina Hurricane.
Yeah.
Okay, so those were our picks last year. We're gonna give the same picks this year. Um, do you want to go in that order? Start with Stanley Cup
Yeah,
or,
that
or
sounds good.
okay. All right, let's just keep it going. What do you got? What do you got first?
I'm going for I think Tampa's going to have a big year this year. I have them winning
Ooh,
the East, beating out their Florida rival. But I actually have maybe not a repeat cup winner, but a recent cup winner taking down Tampa in the Vegas Golden Knights. I have a Vegas Tampa matchup. I think this would be a toss up, definitely go 7 games, but I
hmm.
lean Vegas and Mitch Marner.
Vegas over Tampa. That would be really fun, and I feel like I don't know. I'm getting Florida Panthers fatigue, so I like I kind of like that would feel a little refreshing. I think so. I think that's a really fun one. Um, I'm gonna be honest. This one's just sort of off the cuff for me. It's not one that I've devoted a lot of thought to. Um, but I'm gonna pick. Do I do it again? I'm gonna pick. I actually also really do like the Vegas Golden Knights, so I do have them coming out of the West. But I'm gonna pick the Canes over the Knights. This is the year. This is the
If
year
they
it
beat
happens.
Florida.
Finally, they're gonna do it. I don't know. I just really like what they did this offseason. I think they've got Nikolai Ehlers coming in. I think he's gonna fit like a glove. I think they've got some solid young players that'll make some progress. Oh wait, we said no explaining, so I'm not gonna explain. But I like the Canes more this year than last year. I'll just leave it at that. So nice. Okay, Heart pick. This is the MVP award. So it was Connor Hellebuck last year. Who do you got winning it this year?
I'm projecting a huge year from Mitch Marner. So I'm going Marner for Vegas to win the
Whoa.
Hart.
Okay. Wow. Marner over Eichel. That's a fun one. Um. Okay. I'm gonna say that. Oh man. Again, I like this is off the cuff. I am actually gonna say that it's Eichel. I like this guy. Oh, I think we may have lost Alec. I think he might be frozen. Um, I like Jack Eichel's odds. I know that Alec picked him last year, but I think he's a fun one. I think Vegas is poised for a big year. Oh, you're back. Um, but I don't know. Is it cheating to just take your pick from last year?
No, I think that's fine.
All right. So we both have Vegas Golden Knights winning the heart.
The heart.
Um, all right. What are we doing next? Do we want to do Vesna next?
Sure. I think the Vesna winner this year, I think, is going to be Russian. And I do lean with Vasilevsky as my pick.
Hmm.
But between him, Shesty, and Bobrovsky, I think it's going to be one of them. And that I have, like I said, I have Tampa winning playing a big year. I have Vazzy being a part of that. So I'm
Hmm.
going Vasilevsky.
Okay. Nice. I think it's going to be Jordan. No, I'm just kidding. Although I am more confident this year than last year. I'm gonna say I'm gonna say that this is a fun one. I'm gonna say Dustin Wolf builds on his sort of breakout year and wins the Vesna. I feel like I'm still in bold take territory, um, but I don't know. I like what I have seen from him, of what I have watched, of what I have actually watched. I like what the goalie experts have to say about him. I think he takes some steps.
Yeah.
Norris. Do you
Um,
want to do Norris next and then close it out with Calder?
so for the Norris, I kind of went off the board here a little bit. I'm going with Evan Bouchard. I just think that the
Hmm.
defenseman stuff takes time, and I think he'll have an okay year defensively, and then offensively, everyone knows he's that guy. So the Norris feels like one that changes a lot. So I'm going with Bouchard.
Bouchard. I like it. I'm gonna say that Rasmus Dahlin wins it this year. I
That's a good
think
one.
I think the Sabres can't be that bad again, right? And I think we say that every year, and then we end up being wrong. Um,
I don't.
I think a lot of people say that every year. You might be right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he has a career year and wins the Norris. I'm gonna go Dahlin. Okay,
All right.
Calder Trophy. I
Well,
think I might know your pick. What do you got?
I've made this pick on air before, but I'm sticking with Jimmy Snuggerud. I think he's got the perfect recipe to win it. He's my guy.
I like it. I think that I feel like I should have a different pick than you. I would pick Snug, but I kind of want to have another take here. So I'm going to say that Alexander Nikishin wins it for Carolina. Brings
Just a
home the.
Canes homer.
Hey, I mean, he's an exciting young defenseman. So why not? Why not? I just don't want it to be Demidov. That's all.
Yeah.
If it's I mean, so Snug is probably like my main pick, but I'm just gonna say Nikishin
You can
so that
say
we have.
Snug.
I'm not gonna do it. I want to have some different picks. I want there to be an opportunity for each of these for one of us to be right and the other to be wrong.
Hmm.
So I'm gonna say Nikishin. All right,
All
those are
right.
our predictions and picks for the upcoming year. Um, the Blues have just started their or are about to start. I'm not sure when puck drop actually is, if it just dropped or not. Um, they're going to be playing their second preseason game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So everyone go watch that. I think you can only watch it if you're in. It has started. If you're in the St. Louis area, so yeah, go give that a watch. Um, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's the best way to help us out. We're going to continue providing some consistent coverage as we ramp up to the start of the regular season. We're gonna talk next episode reacting to the Blues' start to the preseason, including some reports out from training camp, as well as the first two preseason games against Dallas and Columbus. So tune in for that. We'll probably try to do that midweek this week, and we'd love to have everyone back on. Um, But yeah, until then, we'd appreciate if you would subscribe to our channel. It's the best way to help us out. Like this video, follow, rate, and review. Hopefully 5 stars wherever you listen on Spotify and Apple. That's a great way to help us out as well. It gets the podcast in front of some new eyes and under new thumbs, I guess. And then follow us on socials on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Note News Pod, where we try to do our best to post a lot of other stuff and announce when we're going live and all that great stuff. As we ramp up to the season, we should be getting some more content out on all of those platforms. So we'd appreciate a follow and some engagement over there. But yeah, this has been fun. Thanks for tuning in to this one, and go check out some of our recent episodes. We did Central Division preview. We looked at top 4 defensemen, top 6 forwards, going group by group there. So we'd appreciate if everyone checked those out as well. But we will see you next time. Let's go watch some preseason hockey, and let's go Blues.
Let's go Blues.